Hey, thank you so much for joining my YouTube channel. And totally excited, I get to introduce to you Ashley Abercrombie. Yay, Ashley.
Yay.
Thank you so much for hanging out.
Thanks for having me.
Totally pumped. And we met, I think, 4 minutes ago.
Yes.
This was really exciting, right? I'm serious. And I know you like Zara,
I do,
like for
I love
clothing,
it.
which is
Yes.
fantastic. So you and my mom will be like, woo! That's fantastic. Except for the fake pockets.
This is a fake pocket,
No
in case
bueno.
anyone was wondering. Not good.
But tell me, you got kids.
I do.
Tell me you're married and all that. Kind of give us a little biography.
Yes, I'd love to. So I am married to my husband for almost 9 years in April. We have 2 little boys, Levi and Lucas. They're 2.5 and 5, so that just means I'm very tired.
Exactly.
The bags are hidden with some concealer.
Yeah, I know.
And we live in Los Angeles. That's where we call home.
And you write and do lots of stuff with writing. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so I started writing when I was a little girl. It's always been a deep, abiding passion of mine, and one of the ways that I expressed feelings and emotions or went through difficult things, I was a master pretender, so I had like a literal PhD in pretending. And so because of that, writing gave me a really great outlet where no one could read it and no one could know what I was talking about, but it was always a safe space for me. So for years and years and years, I did that until I was able to publish my first book last October. Yeah.
And name of the book?
Rise of the Truth Teller. Yeah.
What kind of provoked you, motivated you to write the book?
Well, I think that I have always had a passion for story. I think that it gives us this deep, abiding connectedness that we all really need, a common understanding, especially in a world that we're living in that's becoming more polarized, and people are dividing themselves into camps, and they are advocating for what they're against more than what they're for. And so because of that, I think story creates a level of empathy and connectedness in us that we need in humanity. We need to remember that each person is made in the image of God. And so I tell my personal story through this and get really honest and really vulnerable and encourage other people to tell it like it is and then to live their life with gumption. And that's really important. We need that sort of shrewd spiritness in this world today to live with bravery and courage.
And how do you navigate the writing and being a mom with little guys?
What a great question. You know, you have to take it every day as it comes. I have found that the more I try to stick to routine, and I have some, but I'd rather have rhythms of life because I think every week is a bit unpredictable, having a kindergartner and a child at home. So one day they're not going to nap. What am I going to do? Just scream at them until they do it? Or am I just going to sort of surrender to the day and let each day come as it may? And I think writing for 20 years as my side hustle also enabled me to really write as a mom because I had to do it at odd hours, in the morning before work, on a lunch break, late at night. And so that is sort of still my routine. Having little kids.
And you kind of just integrate it into the pockets and pieces.
Yes, you do. You just figure it out, I think.
And where does Jesus show up in some of that daily rhythm, if you will?
Yes. I think the way that I connect the most with Jesus is through conversation all day. That's one of my pathways, just walking and praying, walking and talking. I mean, God speaks to me by the laundry, God speaks to me as I'm picking up my kids at, the school pickup line. I think that God is with us all the time, and I've really tried to practice the presence of God more than I've tried to sort of stick a bunch of duties over my head that I can't live up to anyway. And so for me, practicing the presence is really powerful. And then worship is another pathway for me. So when I get in my car, I just turn on worship music and sing and pray. And then I find God through others. So when I'm connecting with people, whether it's in the Starbucks line or, it's a teacher at my son's school or it's a neighbor, for me, connecting with others helps me experience God because we're each made in his image. So when I see another person, I can see a facet of God. So that's how I practice walking with God in my day-to-day life.
And I think I remember that season in my life when I had toddler and that transition stuff. And it just was, you're always going and busy and this and that. And I found the same thing too. It's like that integration.
Yeah.
And that was really helpful to me. The other thing, what do you like to read? Because if you like to write, then you like to read.
I do love to read. Yes. No, I love reading. I have my Kindle. In fact, when we first got married, my husband was like, you have to transition to a Kindle nightlight because you were keeping me up all night long with your lamp. And I was absolutely driving him crazy. So I switched over to a Kindle nightlight. So I love reading novels. And I love reading some nonfiction books. I tend to lean a bit more towards ones that are attached to social issues or human stories. That tends to be what I like if I'm reading nonfiction.
Sure.
But yeah, I love reading a good novel as well. Yeah, and I read for an hour every night before I go to bed, and it's how I go to sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Kind
it
of
helps me.
settle in.
Exactly.
And what do you hope for the future?
Oh, what a beautiful question. I think connectedness, that seems to be a theme here that I'm talking about, but I deeply desire that people would have an understanding that we all belong to one another and that we'd begin to fight against the norms of polarization, that we would connect with one another, that we'd understand each other, that we would suspend judgment and be able to walk with one another as God created us.
And I'm totally on your page, 100% in agreement.
Yeah.
And how do you walk with somebody that you disagree with?
Yeah. Well, I think sometimes, depending on the issue, I think sometimes there just has to be a break where it's like, okay, it's not safe for me to be in a relationship with you. So I need to say that on the front end. At the same time, I think it's really important that we understand that disagreement is not devaluing another person, because we all have things we're going to disagree on. And if you're going to be in relationship with others, close relationship with others, that means there's going to be tension, there's going to be conflict, there's going to be disagreement. And that is actually part of relationship. And I think sometimes if you haven't been in deep relationships, you don't realize that that's actually a part of it. It's not supposed to be peaceful all the time. You're not supposed to agree about everything. So I think I ask a lot of questions. That's one of the ways that I do it. Oh, interesting. Tell me more about that.
Yeah.
How did you arrive at that conclusion? Instead of, what? How could you think that way? Or this, that, or the other? I try to identify what is a person's context. Why do they think the way they think? Why do they value what they value? And in that way, I can relate and connect instead of judging and blaming and shaming. And that helps relationship.
And in the sense of that helps with disagreement, but what are some things that you're finding in developing connectedness that are key levers, important pieces? Disagreement, you got to navigate that.
Sure.
But what's another important part that is supportive, like feeds into it?
Yes. So I think identifying safe people, that's one of my favorite books by Dr. Henry Cloud, is called Safe People. And I think identifying a person who is also able to do those things, is able to suspend judgment, is able to ask great questions, values you for the person who you can be, not just the person that you are, because we're all broken. We all come with our character flaws and our issues and our problems and our pain. So somebody who can journey past that a bit and see the potential that's on the inside of you and call that forward. Someone who's interested in showing up and arriving for you and allows you the privilege of showing up and arriving for them, so that it's a reciprocal, mutual relationship and there's a great common respect, instead of one person carrying the whole load and one person not, and vice versa. So interdependent relationships, I think, with safe people. Yeah, those are my levers.
That's kind of what I'm the same way. I think my journey to connectedness, because it's important to me too.
Yeah.
But I think I'm probably about 2 decades. I'm probably a late bloomer coming to it. But I use similar words: reciprocity, mutuality.
So important.
And there's interdependence with it and inter-engagement. So it's not all of that. So thank you, Ashley. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate your time.
I'm so glad to be here. Thank you.
So make sure that you give us some feedback. Love to get, subscription, thumbs up, thumbs down, leave some comments. Grab Ashley's book, because I'm seriously, it's a phenomenal book, Rise of the Truth Teller. When you read it, it's engaging from the beginning. It's not like you have to push your way through it to kind of sink. It's phenomenal from the outset. You totally want to get it. And here's our concluding joke, which we all love. What do you call a cow that just had a baby? Decaffeinated. I know, that's awesome, right? Catch you next week.